Well, thanks for being here. Thanks for watching Rush Hour. I'm Natasha Zubest in for Nichole Berlie. Now, Thursday night's January 6th primetime hearing detailed what former President Trump was and was not doing that day, minute by minute. Some key takeaways that were addressed include Trump's tweet condemning former Vice President Mike Pence for not stopping the election certification. Both of last night's witnesses, former Deputy National Security Advisor Matt Pottinger and former Deputy Press Secretary Sarah Matthews, said that tweet prompted them to resign on the spot, saying it put more gas on the fire.
I simply didn't want to be associated with the events that were unfolding on the Capitol.
His refusal to condemn the violence was indefensible, and so I knew that I would be resigning that evening.
And the committee also revealed never-before-seen outtakes of former President Trump's video message on January 7th calling for an orderly transition of power.
This election is now over. Congress has certified the results. I don't want to say the election's over. I just want to say Congress has certified the results without saying the election's over, okay?
And another piece of evidence presented at the hearing was this video of Republican Missouri Senator Josh Hawley running from the Capitol. And the video came the same day he was pictured walking in front of the Capitol building with his fist raised up, with the committee saying he was showing solidarity with the protesters waiting outside. Now, the video has provoked a social media roasting of Hawley, Twitter posts and memes comparing him to a running chicken, to Forrest Gump, you see on the right of your screen. And joining us now to talk more about last night's hearing is NewsNation political editor Chris Steyerwalt. And Chris, that standout moment when the committee played that video of Senator Hawley running, people actually laughed in the room. It's kind of a contradiction that this was a serious matter and people were laughing. Do you think the committee damaged itself by showing the video?
Well, I mean, look, it was a kind of a cheap shot, right? That poking at Hawley in that way. But you do have to remember the context here. Josh Hawley is not taken seriously in Washington, right? So he is a figure of much mirth here in town because he's sort of like the Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez of the Republican Party. He has no clout in Congress, and he makes a lot of noise, but he doesn't do anything. He doesn't have any power to get stuff done. He's very performative. And so a guy like that doesn't have many friends on the Republican side. He doesn't have any friends on the Democratic side. So people don't, he's held in low esteem. But yeah, it was a cheap shot. I don't know that it does lasting damage to the committee's work because that will depend on what they've got. And I think they've done a lot so far, and there's probably a lot more to come.
Those were strong words from you, Chris. So the committee has shown plenty of photos and videos throughout the hearings. Can you help us understand what is so different about Senator Hawley and the way he reacted to January 6th?
Well, look, so Hawley holds himself out to be, macho, tough, this guy, and he's very performative, right? The way that politicians like Hawley or Cortez, and there are sadly many in both parties, the way that they get their clout and their celebrity is by being hated by the other side. So they're always trolling the other side. These are the people like Ted Cruz, Ilhan Omar, we could go down the list. They get attention by being detested by the other side. And because of that's how Hawley has gone about raising his national profile, I guess it just came down to the fact that the folks on the committee couldn't resist taking a cheap shot at him. It was probably a political mistake on their parts, but I think it will probably evaporate in time, along with the memes.
Yeah, well, Chris, what more can we expect when the committee resumes these hearings in September?
Well, we're going to expect an awful lot from the Secret Service. That is the material part here. So the material part of the testimony last night, the evidence last night, was really locking down what was Trump doing. But the Secret Service and the missing texts and the battle over access will be raging, and what they get out of the Secret Service to find out what Trump was doing the whole time and who he called. And they pointed out all of the missing call logs and the stuff that seems to be missing from the White House records. This is going to be a fight. It's going to go to the courts. It's going to be intense, and it will have lasting consequences for the presidency and the power of Congress.
Well, and Chris, as we reported earlier, longtime Trump ally Steve Bannon is convicted of contempt of Congress for defying a congressional subpoena from the House committee investigating the events of January 6th. So what does this actually mean for the investigation?
Well, Bannon is a tricky one, right? He is Steve Bannon is good. You know, he has a little bit of a Hollywood background. He is good at spinning narrative, spinning story. I don't know what the Steve Bannon story will end up being. Is he a guy who's willing to go to prison, go to jail? Famously, in Bill Clinton's impeachment, one of his supporters went to jail rather than talk. Is Steve Bannon going to take a route like that? Or it seems just as likely, always with Bannon, that he might get dishy. He might want to spill it all and tell all this story. So they have to play it carefully with Bannon. He's cagey, he's very smart, and he is wild.
Well, Chris, if you were a betting man, would you bet that he'd be willing to go to prison for this, or that he's going to crack and he's going to talk?
I would never bet much on whether I could predict what Steve Bannon was going to do, other than try to be famous. So whatever will bring the most attention and bring the most controversy, that's usually where you can find Steve Bannon.
Chris Direwalt, as always, we appreciate your perspective and your expertise. Thank you.
You bet. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.